Recording. Hey guys, welcome to our Tuesday. No, it's not Tuesdays anymore. It's Wednesday morning leadership call. I'm happy to say that after a few weeks of stepping back from these calls a little bit, we are back and ready to go. As I just explained prior to the call a little bit, we're going to start our Tuesday morning leadership calls with a little portion of training. And then at the end, we will cut the recording and do a little bit of mastermind Q&A, talking about some of the things we're experiencing in our businesses and move ahead. These calls are for emeralds and above on our team, especially those coaches who are consistently achieving Success Club and moving their businesses forward. So if you want to be a part of these calls, we would love to have you, and we can definitely talk about how to grow your business to a point where you want. This is a very self-paced, self-motivated business, so it's really what you make of it. I also want to make a quick announcement before we get started, and that announcement is that starting on October 2nd, my accountability partner, Lauren Boyd, and I are starting a Success Club push group for the fourth quarter. So October, November, December, it's going to be a 3-month group, and really it's going to be called Back to the Basics. So we are going to go over certain things like time management, hitting Success Club, recruiting coaches, mindset, really diving into social media and things like that. There will be recommended personal development for each of those months. There will be one weekly call, nothing live that you have to worry about getting on, all at your own pace, but it should really help us all to really see the momentum as we go through the fourth quarter and move into the new year. The new year can be what you make of it, but you need to prepare for that from now. So that's just something to be aware of. If you want to be a part of it, let me know. We would love to have you. Now, to get into today's topic, we are going to talk about 5 deadly mistakes when prospecting, and really going back to the basics like we had talked about with this push group, and talking about inviting, because it seems like over the past few weeks and months, there's been a decreasing trend of those helping others. We're seeing the Success Club point numbers going lower and lower instead of continuing to stay the same or increase. So how can we really help people at a time when maybe like we were talking about before the call, like when maybe the economic status doesn't look so good, or people are fearful of other things, or right now with back to school and everybody else's attention elsewhere, how can we help them bring the focus back to themselves and get started on this health and fitness journey? So I came across this guy on social media. His name is Simon Chan. He says that he is a business coach. So I listened to a few of his things and I read a few of his articles and pulled some of what he had to say for today's call. So I just wanted to give him credit for some of what I'm speaking about, because I hadn't heard of him before, but came across him in my searches and found some really good information that I wanted to share with you. So he talks about 5 deadly mistakes when prospecting. And I'll say each of them and then I'll break each one down. So number 1 is that they approach their contact list with the goal to sponsor everyone. So that's mistake number 1. And we'll talk about these more in depth as we go along. So if you don't get them all right away, don't worry too much. Number 2 is that they only talk to their close friends and family. Number 3, they prejudge their prospects and talk to only the ones they think will be interested. Number 4, they sell the business and not the meeting during the invite. And I'm looking forward to talking about this one more. And then number 5, they approach every prospect the same way. So there are a few of the mistakes that some people are making in business when talking to others or not talking to others. So number 1 is that they approach the contact list with the goal to sponsor everyone. And what this Simon says is that the real and only purpose of the invite is to let people on your contact list know that you're in the business. So this really takes a lot of the pressure off of us when we're sending invites. If you're going into it thinking that everybody you're inviting, that you're expecting them to say yes or maybe or yes, send me more info, we start to get nervous when people start responding either negatively or not responding, even though we can see. And really, what he says, and I know we've heard this before, but whether they join or not really isn't important. you just want them to know that this is what we're doing. We have an opportunity to invite them to, and maybe it's not for them, but maybe this is the person who remembers your message. And 2 weeks from now, here's a friend talking about wanting to get started on a fitness journey and tags you in their post or refers their friend to your group. So this is really, this is why it's important to make sure that we're reaching out to everybody, but not letting their response or lack of response get us down. Because I know it can be hard to hear those no's regularly, but just remembering that, and I can think of times this has happened in my business for people that have said no to me and may never join me as challengers. They're always the first to tag me in like a mommy group post, like somebody needs help. Hey, Amanda, can you help her out or something? So just keeping that in mind. Don't necessarily think about getting everybody to join you in your challenge groups, but just getting the word out that this is what you're doing. And don't expect that they know that you're doing it just because you post it on social media. I mean, I've had challengers who have gone and bought things through beachbody.com instead of teambeachbody.com. And even though they're linked to me as their coach, they did like the 3-month payment plan and, boom, boom, boom. So just really educating people on what it is we do. Number 2, they only talk to their close family and friends. And now I'm not going to lie, there are days where I'm guilty of this. I don't want to reach out to that person. Like I just don't feel comfortable. So I might stick to the people I feel most comfortable reaching out to that day. And guess what? It's not the way it should be. Your winners that will help you build your organization will often come from 1, your acquaintances that you don't know so well, and 2, a referral from someone that you do know. And this, if you think about the rock stars on your team or your rock star challengers, where did they come from? They're probably not the people closest to you. Yes, I was lucky my first month in the business. I signed my mom and my sisters. They were my first challengers. But since then, you think about it. I met Rachel through my friend Amy. Leslie and I, were family members, but it wasn't like we were constantly at family events together. It was, we had connected again. Daisy, we met in Target. When you think about the people you're connected to and not connected to, it is amazing to think about the relationships built. Leah and I met in a mommy group. So I always try to think about how I met people, and they're not my closest family and friends. Honestly, most of my family hasn't joined me. And a lot of my close friends, I really don't even talk to about it anymore because they've, I know they'll come to me when they're ready. Pretty much. Now, number 3, they prejudge their prospects and talk only to the ones they think will be interested. This is pretty self-explanatory. It really kind of goes back to number 2. But I know we've all had it happen where we're either on Team Z or we're looking at our list for the day and we're thinking, why did I write that person down? She's totally never going to want to do this. Or, as Leslie shares, I didn't offer her the coaching opportunity because I thought, well, this probably isn't something she would be interested in. She doesn't need it financially. So, she's doing great in the challenge groups. And I left it at that. So I prejudged. By prejudging, we are taking this opportunity away from somebody else. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking. You never know. One of my challengers, her daughter, who is a friend of my middle sister, actually reached out to me the other day. This is a girl I'd never think to reach out to because, she always looked like she was in really good shape to me. Next thing you know, she's like, no, I'm the heaviest I've been so far. I really need some support and accountability, and signed right on. So, just be open to talking to everyone, presenting it to everyone. Now, number 4, I think this one's really interesting. And he had said they sell the business and not the meeting during the invite. And this was really eye-opening to me because how many times you get the question, you say, hey, do you want more information about that? And they're finally like, yes, tell me more. I'd love to know. And that's when you get into either paralysis mode or you get into I am going to spit out everything I know about this challenge group in order to motivate them and sell them on this opportunity. I know I'm guilty of it. And then you completely lose them and they start asking a ton of questions and it's I feel icky now. And it happens because we're not using the tools that were created for us to use. So what he says is, when you're inviting somebody to the business opportunity, or you are presenting, say, a challenge group invitation, you really want to direct people back to those third-party tools. Direct them back to the What is Coaching webinar, or our sneak peek group, or the promo videos that Beachbody has created, giving them a quick little snippet and then saying, if I sent you this, would you have time to watch it? By when would you be able to watch it, and then follow up then. So using the tools, because the more you talk and sell, the more questions they will have, the more jumbled you will get. None of us, yes, there are people in Beachbody who were salespeople before, but we're not, and that's not what we're here for. We're here to help people get started on their journey. Yes, that means selling products, but really what we need to sell is ourselves and our groups, and let the products sell themselves. So just something to keep in mind, instead of trying to come up with that perfect script or coming up with the perfect answers, really just really just getting them to that meeting, getting them to that next step of watching something or listening to something. And then, if you feel like you don't have that tool, or if they feel like there's somebody you want to have a deeper connection with, hopping on the phone is perfect. I always find that really good, because that gives you the opportunity to take control and ownership of the conversation and to really ask them the questions. And then number 5, they approach every prospect the same way. So Simon says that there are 3 types of people on our contact list, and that's those who are more successful than we are, those who are on the same level as we are, and then those who may want to rise up to the level where we're at, or may need some, lifting. He calls it the SOW system, SOW. And he says for each of those groups, you need to kind of talk to them a different way. People who are more successful than you may notice these are the people that do get back to you right away, because they understand, they've been in a position where they've had to work hard. They may not be interested in joining, but they have the respect to give back to you and at least, respond and hear you out and things like that. So he says you really want to get right to the point with them. Just give them, give them that quick blurb and say, this is what it is. See if you can get them to watch that third-party tool and, make the connection that way. But get right to the point, because they're busy. They're taking the time to get back to you. So just be respectful of that. And then the people on the same level as you, he says, they're actually the hardest to get to join you, because they see right where you're at, and they can kind of see right through that. And when they say, tell me more about it, you really, again, want to get right to that short script, but then ask them that question. If I sent you this, or if I get you to here, would you be able to watch it? And then remembering that follow-up. A lot of this stuff too, if you've ever read GoPro, kind of goes back to GoPro, kind of goes back to Rock Your Network Marketing Business. And then the people who you want to raise up, what you need to do when you're approaching them is you really need to approach them with confidence and a sense of urgency and enthusiasm. So in this case, you want to say something like, hey, what are you doing tonight at 9 p.m.? I'm running this X, Y, and Z. Would love for you to be there. Can you commit now? Right to the point, very confident, lots of energy, and getting them in there that way. Again, we're not tricking anybody, but he just says these are different ways to approach the people on our list. So instead of having the same template or whatever for everybody. Now, as with anything in this business, and in this business especially, because we are a health and fitness business, and that's a touchy subject for some people, because I know for me personally, health and fitness was always a very private thing. It's I go to the gym and I eat really well, but oh my goodness, if I start a new diet, I don't want anybody to know. That's scary. So, just that reminder of how can I just add value and make their lives better every single day? This is what we should be doing through our posts. This is what we should be doing in our conversations. And we really must focus on building that trust, which is where it's so important to just be you. And then a second reminder, that if you don't ask them, someone else will. And it's happened a million times. And it doesn't matter if it's somebody else from Beachbody, somebody else from another network marketing company. It's just, if you don't ask them, somebody else will. And if you think about it this way, say you put the invite out to them, they don't respond to you, but 3 weeks later, somebody else messages them with the same opportunity, and they're mentally in the state where they're like, you know what, I'm kind of thinking about this, but they remember your message that you had sent it first, so maybe they come back to you instead of responding to that other person who sent this message, because they feel more connected to you. Or, they're like, oh, you know what, I forgot that Daisy sent me this message 2 weeks ago. Like, I should really get back in touch with her. I really wonder, what is this coaching thing all about? So, if you never tell someone about it, they might just end up going somewhere else. And then a third reminder going along with all of this, and this kind of goes back to, point number 2, is you're only 1 or 2 people away from the person who could help you change your life. So something kind of deep to keep in mind, but you really don't know who could connect you to who. We look at school drop-offs this morning, and like I was telling Daisy that the one girl whose son is in Brock's class was one of my prenatal yoga instructors. Now, if I never presented this opportunity to her, we never talked about it, she may not refer me to somebody else. But now that we've talked about it, she's not interested at this time, and that's completely cool. But who knows who she knows? She's a prenatal yoga instructor. Who do I work on attracting? Moms, trying to gain confidence in their post-baby bodies. So she hears from one of her clients, like, oh, I had the baby a few months ago. I'm ready to get started. I don't know what to do. Boom, 1 or 2 people, just 1 or 2 people away. So my call to action for you today is to remember these 3 words: excitement, enthusiasm, and urgency. So excitement, enthusiasm, and urgency. They're like the 3 key words of the day. And to make a 100 people list. And to not only make a 100 people list, but to list out who they are, what they do, and their phone number if you can get it. Because a text or a voice memo or the opportunity to hop on the phone with somebody could make all the difference. So, making that list, I know a lot of us are using Teamsy right now. So we have Teamsy, we have our notebook systems. In our push group, we're going to be talking even more about different systems of tracking, for maybe newer coaches or for people who are struggling to find out where they fit with the whole tracking. But, making that list again and really looking who haven't I reached out to in a while? I know I've started going back to people in Babies and Barbells who might not have accepted my friend requests or might not have responded to messages the first time around when they first joined and I sent the messages. So I'm going to start making lists from there and reaching out to them again, seeing who I can really connect with. So that is it for the training portion of our call today. And I really thank you for tuning into this recording if you did. Again, this is going to be we're going to push to do it weekly. You never know what's going to happen when the baby comes, but I do thank you so much for taking the time to hop on today. Any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the comments below.